Thursday, where we give you a little something to think about. Today's topic is so important because I know many of you guys know that we have been posting all over social media about diets for our cats and how important it is to feed our cats a moisture-rich diet. Oh, thanks, as we turn on the lights. How important it is to feed our cats a moisture-rich diet, right? We've made some posts that were like, why do you feed kibble and why would you only feed kibble? And the number one question that we get, the number one comment that we get is, my cat won't eat wet food. And the number one question that we get is, how do I get my cat to eat wet food? So that is what Think About It Thursday is about today, how to transition your cat's diet food to a better diet. So we're just going to jump right in because this has to go kind of fast because we had to lock our cats up since we have food out. We had to lock some of our cats up because kibble can be crack, right, for your cat. So a lot of times we totally get it. We understand when it comes to feeding our cats. And if you've already started, as most of us do, you start feeding your cats kibble because it's cat food and that's what you have. So we think that it's the best food for them until we learn better, and then we have to do better. But that doing better is a really big step, mostly for the people, than it is even the cats. But our cats have to be locked up because it can become crack, right? It can become a very addictive thing for cats to eat kibble because it's sprayed with Animal Digest. They put all the stuff and things on it with those billions of dollars in order to make it super appealing to your cat, so they'll eat the crap. So even our cats that have never had kibble, and they are actually the ones that are locked away, when they have the kibble out, when they smell it, they come running. So
kibble to wet food is usually the hardest step. So this is going to be the couple quick tips, you guys. So we start
number one. Pick up the all-day buffet. The number one step to getting your cat eating a better diet is to pick up the all-day buffet. If we are leaving our kibble out all day long for our cats to graze on like cows, then it will be much harder for you to get them to eat a better food. Now, we don't want to starve our cats, but we definitely know that hunger is your friend, right? So we pick up the all-day buffet. No more free feeding your kitties. Instead, what we want to do is find a scheduled time that you're going to keep. We all have schedules anyway. So pick the times, whether that's 2 times a day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, whatever you have, and feed them smaller amounts, just enough for a meal, and feed them like that throughout the day. Again, depending on your schedule. Okay. Then what we can do is we could try to supplement. What we did for some of our cats, and it worked well, we tried to supplement. So we picked up the all-day buffet all night long. They didn't eat. They fasted. It's actually really good for their bodies to fast for 8 to 10, 12 hours even. We picked it up. Next morning, instead of giving them dry food, we gave them wet food. They liked that because they were hungry. That might not work because there are finicky kitties who that doesn't work for. So
one of the things that you can try if your cat just completely turns their nose up at wet food is fine. Give them their dry food, but take a bit of that wet food and either mix it into the dry food or put it on the same plate or very near the food so they start associating it as food. Then over time, start adding more wet food in with the dry food and taking away some of the...
You can start with literally this can of nasty wet food. You could start with just a little, like a teaspoon, right? Just like a tiny little teaspoon, and put it over here on the side so that your cat smells it while they're eating their kibble. Okay. So that associates this new thing that they've never seen before, this wet food, as food to our cats, right? So we could do it that way. And I'll show you guys all what that looks like. It looks gross.
And then over time, decrease the dry food, increase the wet food. If you still get to a place where cats, and we'll have cats that are eating a certain protein or a certain whatever, and all of a sudden they're like, no, we don't like that. Here's where you can use meal toppers.
Take that kibble, put it in a little plastic bag, take something hard and crush it up, right? Into like I put a little too much in there,
but you crush it up into a little powder.
And then use it as a food topper that they also associate with as food. They get that smell, so that will hopefully make them more likely. Or you can use something like tuna water or any kind of snack. Our cats, we still use the Green Juju Bison treats a lot of times on top of their food if they're not a fan of the food. But tuna water, just open the can, pour it a little bit on top. It's super stinky, and cats like stinky. So getting your cat from a dry food to a wet food can take time. It can take time. You're going to repeat that same process when you switch them from a wet food to a raw food. And if you have a not finicky kitty, you can take out that wet food and just do this from kibble to raw. Absolutely fine too. But most kitties, our kitties, what we did is we went from kibble to wet to raw. This is a little bit easier because it's more of the same texture. So once you get to a wet food, it's going to be easier to transition them to a raw food because it's the same texture. You'll notice that there's much less in this bowl than there is in this bowl or in this bowl. And that's because this is more bioavailable to our cats. The reason that we feed a raw food diet is because the ingredients in it our cats can use. They can really utilize in their body. There's not so much waste. That's why their poops are also really nice and small, because there's a lot of extra fillers in many wet foods and all dry foods.
Yes. So, and the other thing I wanted to say, even with the raw food, and now raw food can be a scary step for some people, but it's literally the best decision we ever made for our babies.
Make sure it's balanced.
You got to make sure it's balanced, and you can also use food toppers because we're big fans of variety. So sometimes they'll be getting a protein that they're like, oh, I don't think I like this.
Yep.
We'll use a food topper on their raw food as well.
Yeah, you can do this at any point, right? Like these little tips and tricks.
You know what I mean?
Tips and tricks. You can use for any food when you want to transition your cat to a better diet. But here's the key: patience and perseverance pays. The number one reason why we don't actually, if you look, you're not going to say it to us, right? You're going to say it to yourself. The number one reason that we don't actually transition our cats to a better diet is because of us, is because we don't want to be. A lot of people say, I tried to give them wet food, they wouldn't eat it, so I took it away and put down the dry. We have to go at our cat's pace. Yeah. Some cats will take weeks. Some cats will take months. Some cats are so easy that you can do it in a day. But one of our cats, it took us 6 full months to transition him from this food to this food. And it was a hard process, but it was much harder for us than it was for him because he wanted that kibble and we just wanted to give it to him, even though we knew that it was bad for him. We wanted to give it to him because he wanted it.
It was heartbreaking.
It takes patience and perseverance. Both of those have to go together. You got to do it at your cat's pace. It might not take forever. It might take a long time, but you have to persevere and continue to offer the better food for your kitty. So
and remember too that we are our cat's only choice for a better, healthier diet.
Yes.
So that's where I just had to remind myself of that when we were going through the transition, because it is heartbreaking. Your cat will be like, oh my God, I'm dying if they don't get the kibble.
Yeah.
So remember that we're their only choice for a better, healthier food.
And they can and will live a longer and healthier life if we can transition their diet, if we do transition their diet to a better food. So that is our subject of Think About It Thursday. We hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for joining us. The link to the more information is in YouTube and Facebook in the description here. So if you guys missed it, you came on a little bit late and you want to check out how to transition your cat's food, we have a link there.
All the tips are there, and there's a short video that shows it even better than this does.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Please join us in about 20 minutes. We will be live interviewing here on Facebook and YouTube. We will be live interviewing the #1 most recommended, most popular CBD company. And we're gonna learn everything there is to learn about CBD for cats. So we love you guys. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. We'll see you guys soon.